We'll start with Ben Garrett.
Kevin, Derek getting the call on Friday. Just what have you seen from him this week, and kind of what can he carry over from last start against Vanderbilt?
Yeah, he's looked great for us lately. Gave us a really good start against Vandy in that second game, and it's got to pitch a lot of confidence. And we love when he's out on the mound. He's going to give us a good outing.
Go to John.
Hey, Kevin, what kind of makes Dylan Dodd such a dangerous pitcher from what you've seen?
I haven't looked too much into it yet, so I'll learn more tomorrow.
Parrish Alford.
Kevin, what do you think about Ole Miss offensively going into this regional? We saw you guys get timely hitting against good pitching in Hoover. We've seen y'all, I guess, put up bigger numbers at other times during the season. How do you feel where you guys are offensively?
Yeah, I love where we're at. We've proven all year that we've got a incredible offense top to bottom. It's just relentless. It won't give away at bats, and that's what you need come postseason. Guys that just go in there, compete, and get the timely hit.
Do you know much about any of the teams? I know you hadn't looked at SEMO much yet. Did you keep up TV or anything? Southern Miss, Florida State?
No, yeah, I haven't really paid too much close attention to schools not named Ole Miss this year. So yeah, I'll learn more we need to know.
Nick.
Kevin, you guys got really hot offensively in the regional 2 years ago. Do you remember kind of what you guys did that allowed you to swing so well for 3 days straight?
Yeah, I think come postseason time, nobody's really worried about anything other than winning ball games. So every time you step in that box, you're just trying to give as good of an at-bat and as competitive an at-bat as you can for your guys in the dugout. That's kind of freeing experience as a hitter. You know the next guy's got you if you don't pick him up. And that's just the way we go out and attack pitchers, just competing as hard as we can and not worrying about the results, just giving the best AB we can.
Back to Ben.
Obviously, Kevin, no one expected a full year plus layoff since the last appearance due to COVID and all that kind of stuff. So as a player, how excited are you just to get back to this moment to where y'all can finally be playing postseason baseball in Oxford again?
Yeah, it's awesome. That's what you play for. That's what you play all year for is postseason baseball. There's just a whole different feeling when you get into a regional or super regional. There's a whole different vibe in the dugout and at the stadium, and I can't wait for it. Swayze's going to be awesome this weekend.
Nick Suss.
Excuse me for not knowing Missouri geography too well, but how familiar are you with SEMO from growing up around there?
Not too familiar. It's actually like right in between here and back home for me, so it's really not too close. But I do know quite a few guys over there that are just from the St. Louis area.
Parrish.
Hey, Kevin, there are a lot of Ole Miss fans who believe that it's like Omaha or bust, that you guys have to get to the College World Series, a lot of high expectations. How do you guys, as players, what do you think about those kinds of expectations?
I think we always expect to go to Omaha from the beginning of the fall, but you can't look at that now. You just got to go win the first game on Friday and go from there.
Are there any other questions for Kevin? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Up next is Derek Diamond. If you have any questions for Derek, please raise your hand. Ben Garrett.
Derek, getting the call for Friday, man, what can you build off of as far as the Vanderbilt start? What did you pick up from that game, and kind of what was the approach that maybe you can carry over now into regional play?
Just like you said, let it carry over. Hasn't been too much I've been working on, physically. That's crazy. It's just having the mindset of going out there and knowing that you're going to win. So I think that's all it is. Doesn't matter who we play. I'm just going to go out and do what I do.
When Coach Bianco talked to you about being the starter on Friday night and getting this thing started, what was just your response to it and your excitement level as far as being the first one out there?
Oh, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. It's a great opportunity, so I can't wait. But, I kind of knew there was a shot that it might not be Doug going first. They talked to me. They talked to McDaniel. They said, it might be one of you guys, so be ready. And we've been on long rest, so it's nothing we had to really worry about. But a few days ago, the coaches told me that it'd be me. So, I'm fired up, get to open the thing up and play some playoff ball at Swayze. So it's going to be awesome.
Nick Suss.
Derek, we've heard Mike talk a lot this year about you needing to get better at controlling and regulating your emotions on the mound. What's that process been like for you, and kind of what have you had to tell yourself to be a little bit more calm when you're throwing?
I don't know if it's being more calm or if it's being more consistent in what I show, but you've seen we've got a lot of guys on our staff that like to show a lot of emotion. It's pretty cool, I think. It's something that's starting to define us, and it helps a lot of guys. But what you really got to do is figure out what works for you. And I guess sometimes when you're having trouble, the emotion you show and just how you look out there can be a big impact on that. So I've just had to change a few things about how I look, and it really has an effect on the mindset. So I don't know if it's me being more controlled or me being more fired up, but I feel a lot more comfortable out there now.
Is that hard an adjustment to make, or is it kind of coming natural?
It's not too hard. If you want to be calm, that's not tough. As a pitcher, your goal is to throw up zeros. So when you throw up zeros, you don't need to get fired up. But if that's what helps you throw up zeros, then go ahead and do it. But it's not too tough either way.
Parrish Alford.
Derek, this is your first season to really go a complete season. Obviously, last year being cut short. What have you learned? What have you learned that you didn't know at the beginning?
Oh, I've learned a ton this year. Last year playing 17 games, it was awesome, and that team was great to be a part of. It was a great experience. But I learned. I'll be honest. I feel like I learned nothing compared to what I've learned this year. Just going through a full season, way more games than playing in high school or anything I've done before. The ups and downs of it, winning, going through the SEC. I couldn't begin to tell you how much I've learned, but believing in yourself, believing in your team, and staying consistent sounds pretty simple, but that's I think the keys to success for us.
We've seen you pitch really well at times. We've seen you have some shorter outings. When you talk about consistency, what goes into that? How do you achieve a greater level of consistency?
It could be a bunch of things, but for me, it's been a lot of mindset. And like I was just talking about, just the way I look and present myself, the way that I want to present myself, that has a ton to do with it. Physically, I've felt pretty consistent all year, but mentally, that's where the major adjustments come. So that's what it's been, and I'm feeling really good going into tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
John Sokoloff.
Hey, Derek, what kind of has practice been like this week? Do you kind of think that, it's been a little bit more ramped up?
No, it hasn't been more ramped up. When you look around, you definitely see a little extra tick of focus on a bunch of guys, but we don't ramp up. As you guys know, that's not us. We play loose and we believe in each other, and we know we're good, so we're not going to change anything now.
And obviously you're getting the ball tomorrow. Have you done much looking into Southeast Missouri's kind of lineup and scouting, and what's the report on them at the plate?
Oh, I've started. There's more to do. I'm going to chart some games, check them out. But, like I said, it doesn't matter who we play now. It just matters how we play.
Nick Suss.
Derek, when you look back 6 or 7 weeks ago and think about when you got moved from the rotation to the bullpen, just how different of a pitcher do you think you are now than then?
I think I've changed a lot. I think I've learned a lot. Like I said, like I've said to a bunch of my friends, moving to the bullpen, I'd be lying if I said I didn't learn a ton about myself, my arm, even the whole game. So it's been a learning experience, and I feel really good about, you know, what I've learned moving to the pen and then moving back to being a starter. You know, the whole cycle helps. So feel good.
Or anything specific you learned?
You know, I learned that mindset's the most important thing. I learned that if you feel great, you know, taking care of yourself physically is the easy part. When you got to take care of yourself mentally, you know, we do a lot of work with the mental game. Like in the fall, we study with Brian Kane, who's a mental specialist, and you know, using those techniques that we learned help a lot. And then, you know, finding what you need to do for yourself helps a lot.
Let's go to Trey.
Yeah, how important, Derek, was it this past week in Hoover for you, Tyler, and the rest of the staff to put up a lot of zeros on the scoreboard to kind of, you know, show that, you know, it's not just Doug, the one out there that can, you know, go deep into a game?
I mean, it was great to see what we did out there. It was not unbelievable, but it was awesome to see us, you know, come into ourselves and dominate like we did. You know, Gunner going down was a shot to the heart for everybody, but that was just an emotion. You know, we know that we're going to be fine without him, and I think guys were excited to step up and have an opportunity. There's some more innings to eat away now that he's gone, so instead of, you know, falling back and being scared, guys were excited.
Are there any other questions for Derek? All right, thanks, Derek.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, if you have any questions for Coach Bianco, please raise your hand and you'll be called on. We'll start with Chase Parham.
Hey, Mike, just I guess in general, what'd you like about Derek for Friday night? What went into that decision?
Well, you know, we've talked about it, I think, a bunch this week, you know, obviously with the staff to make the decision and then with you guys. And I think you've heard it before. At the end of the day, the goal is we want to win game one, no doubt about it. But the goal is to win the regional and to move on. And we thought because of the matchups, looking at all three teams, this gives us the best opportunity to get through the first two games. And you know, a lot of people would look at it where, you know, Southeast Missouri, there's, you know, 4 seed, but they're probably the best 4th seed in the country. You know, a team that not only won their tournament, so they're playing well, but they've won the regular season. They got a pitcher of the year and an ace that would be an ace on any staff, and Dylan Dodd. They present a lot of problems, you know, for any team, not just Ole Miss. And so, but fortunately, you know, we got a guy like Derek that we think can handle it, you know, that he's, you know, an ace in his own regard, a guy that's, you know, has pitched well the last 2 weekends. I thought he pitched well at Georgia, certainly pitched well in the Southeastern Conference tournament. So we think he's ready.
What do you see from Dodd's game?
I'm sorry?
What do you see from Dodd's game, the pitcher for SEMA?
Terrific, you know, left-handed guy with a dominant fastball in the low 90s. He'll mix in a couple different breaking balls. It looks like on film, you know, a curve and a slider and a changeup. But you know, the fastball, you know, is really good, and you know, beats a lot of people. And he's had success, you know, the entire season. You know, when you look at those numbers, I mean, obviously you've seen the statistics. You don't get those types of numbers without being, you know, outstanding on the mound and being outstanding, you know, every week.
Parrish Alford.
Mike, you mentioned that Derek has pitched well his last 2 outings. We've seen him pitch well. We've seen him have some shorter starts. What goes into consistency for him? What does he need to do to become more consistent in going deeper into games more regularly?
It seems like a simple answer, but it's not. I think, you know, sometimes when you look back at the starts, there's outings where He's made good pitches, and it can happen, where, they just get hit, and, at the wrong time, and balls fall into a gap, guy, give up a home run. If you look back at the Vanderbilt game, he actually didn't pitch that poorly. Actually pitched pretty good, up into the end there, where he walked a couple people. But some of those wind-dated balls where, again, credit them, but, there were good pitches and balls that were struck well. But then, what Derek alluded to, I think, is different, and where you start to, and you guys kind of hammered it on him. I was sitting back there going, wow, there's some tough questions. But I think, in a nutshell, what he was trying to say, and what I think he's learned, and what a lot of the young pitchers learn, is to be more themselves out there. I think, they try to keep things calm. They try to stay in the moment. And sometimes a guy like Derek, it almost goes too much, to where they lose some of their aggressiveness. They lose some of the, especially Derek being, one of the best athletes on the team, Omaha Challenge champion two years in a row. So this guy's a position player, pitcher. He loses that aggressiveness and trying to calm himself down and stay in the moment. And sometimes that's not a good thing. And so, we've talked about it the last couple of weeks of, be aggressive, go after him. It's all right. Not everybody has to show the emotion that Doug shows, and not everyone that's really good does that. But you got to be yourself, and you got to be more in attack mode. And I think the last few weeks he's done that. He's got tremendous stuff, as you know. He's going to throw the ball in the low to mid 90s. He's got an outstanding slider and changeup. He's a guy that really commands it well. He's the total package. But I think sometimes we forget that he's a freshman, and, him and Drew, we've put a lot on them. And, and once you lost Gunner, Gunner and Doug could take that weight a lot, in the first two games. But once you lose Gunner and you're putting so much now on two freshmen, I think sometimes you see some of their deficiencies or where they need to mature. But, certainly that was a long answer, but you guys have asked it several different times, so I thought I'd give it to you.
What did Derek and Drew and so many others, what did these guys who were freshmen last year miss by having that season cut short from a developmental standpoint? I mean, how has that affected?
I think what we just said. I think, you got to remember that, it's such a weird year that they would have done this last year. Right. And so this year they'd be sophomores. They'd be a year, not just a year in the calendar, but a year of getting punched in the face, having, success, then the next week not having success, trying to find your breaking ball, pitching in a regional, those types of things that help everybody mature. Everybody talks about experience. That's the whole thing that those guys, Chatinier, Dunhurst, they've all lost. Not just our guys, other guys that are sitting in the other dugout, Southern Miss and SEMO and so on. And so all of that you learn in a year, and it's hard to say a breaking ball. It's hard to just say, handling adversity. It's all of those. God bless you. So.
Nick Suss.
Mike, how did what you got last week from guys like Myers and Adcock kind of affect the way you handle the bullpen this weekend?
I don't think just them. I think, last weekend was big, or last week, I should say, was big for us on a lot of fronts. First, what we've just been talking about, Drew, and for Derek to have a good outing. I think going into regionals, I think that was good from a mental standpoint and feeling good about themselves. But when you go to the bullpen and you look at a lot of those bullpen pieces pitching well, Doherty continuing to pitch well and having another really good outing. For Brandon Johnson, who's pitched well, and I lose track, but maybe 5 or 6 times in a row now, good, leading back to Vanderbilt, where I thought he pitched well in relief there in a game that we got beat up on, the game 2. But he pitched well in his outing there, pitched well in the midweek, pitched well at Georgia, and then had 3 really good outings at the SEC tournament. So, becoming I think a valuable piece. Of course, Myers looking as good and as sharp even though it was a start. I think you're alluding to, that still was, outstanding. And then, of course, Cody, pitching really well against another really good team in Arkansas. So, the more the merrier there. It's postseason, and you need all the arms that you can get. And I think now not only do we feel more comfortable, I think, as a staff, but I think they feel and the team feels like this is their role now. That they can do this, and they can do it on a big stage. And when you do it in the SEC tournament, it's pretty special.
We saw you use Taylor and Brandon multiple times last week. This time of year, how willing are you, or how reliant are you on guys who can go 2-3 times in a weekend?
They can go when they can go. So, there is no next week unless you win this week. And so I say that, which, I think, Nick, and, I think everybody here understands. You can't pitch a guy that's not capable, a guy that just doesn't have it. But we kind of go through a deal, which you've heard me say before, where they'll stretch, they'll do their pregame throwing, and then Lafferty will kind of take a roll call almost before the game, and a lot of that we won't get until about 10 minutes beforehand. Now, some of them we know obviously they're fine, they haven't pitched yet, or they pitched the other day. But guys that pitched on Friday, when you're asking them Saturday, how do they feel? And Taylor will tell us, and he told us a couple times in the tournament, he was a little sore, and and so and then he also told us, hey, yeah, I got the 9th and I'm good and I feel great, or I got more. And so we trust them. This is something that just didn't happen this week. This has been happening since September, in inter-squad games and everything else. So I think they trust us, they being the staff, the pitching staff, and obviously we have to trust them because, we don't want to run them out there if they can't do it for a lot of reasons. One, certainly their health, but the other is because we're trying to win. And, you don't want to run somebody out there that's, physically, not at their best. And so we'll take all that into consideration, but, we're here to win. And so we're not counting pitches. We're not looking for days off. We're trying to win games. And when guys are able to and physically can do it, and, we'll run them out there.
Trey?
And Mike, I feel like you see it a lot or maybe not a lot, but just a few times every year, where a team, bows out quickly in the SEC tournament, then makes a run in the postseason, and then vice versa. I guess from your standpoint, from a team that made a deep run into Hoover last week, how do you make sure that, you kind of bottle up that momentum and keep it going?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I've been here, obviously, Trey, for a long time. That there's no rhyme or reason. It's kind of fascinating. I've watched guys, like you said, get eliminated on that Tuesday and then make a huge run in postseason. I've also, you watched Vanderbilt, win the SEC tournament and then go on to win the national championship in 2019. So I've seen it both ways. And, to look and say, hey, they're tired or this or that. Nah, they're 19 and 22-year-old kids. I think that's our job. We knew that, we played 5 days in a row. They were off on Sunday. Monday's practice was pretty light. Our practice that we probably got the most out of them and pushed them a little bit was Tuesday. Yesterday we were in shorts and it was a light practice. We didn't even think we'd get outside, although we did because of the rain. We're planning on just hitting inside. So yesterday was pretty light. Today, was about an hour and 5 minutes on the field in the NCAA practice. So, our guys are rested and ready to go. And I think as a coach, you just kind of gauge that about your run. There's been times where, we've made a short appearance in the SEC tournament and you had to throw some guys. You had to come back and inter-squad and get some pitchers to get some work. And so we've been on both ends of it, but, we're comfortable where we are right now.
Does anybody else have a question for Coach? All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
All right, thanks, guys.
Reminder that this recording will be provided on our FTP as well as the Ole Miss YouTube channel. Thank you. And this same link will be utilized for all 3 of the other press conferences this afternoon. See you guys again soon.
Thanks, Seth.